Matty making all of these custom carbon panels, which is pretty amazing. Realistically, if I was being honest, the retail on both of these cars to finish them would be about What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Drift Games vlog. We are in a stressful state right now because we have our date for the dyno, which is in 8 days for both cars. So both cars are going to the dyno and track day performance. They're booked in. It's the only available 2 days we have to get them mapped, which means the panic is most certainly on. Good news is we have word from HGK that my gearbox, rear differential, clutch and everything else in the rear shafts, all that stuff, and hubs have been sent. They are now in Germany. They're about 2 or 3 days away. They are going to be here on time. So we are now in mad panic stages to get these two cars finished, and the garage is definitely a flurry of activity. So we've got Bob from Motorsport 56 is actually here in-house wiring the cars. Ryan is working away on the rebuild. So is Wayne, and Matty has just dropped down with the carbon panels that we got custom made for the Corvette. So we're going to go in and check them out. So let's see what happens. It's busy. It's busy. So this was what we originally had. So we're going to do the Eddie Power is the only one that hasn't lifted this. So Eddie, we're going to call you in for a weighing exercise.
Now I'm very strong, so
this will be nothing to you, Ed. You'll just throw this out the garage. Right.
See, I don't have the longest of arms.
Oh, look,
she's heavy.
She's a heavy old piece.
I can confirm it's a heavy old piece.
And this is the replacement panel finished in carbon fibre, which Matty did. Eddie, take an old weight taste of this.
Well, I'm not going to. I don't want to break
It's
this.
2 pieces now, so it's probably just to give you a piece of it on that. That's me with 2 fingers. So Eddie, that's the difference in weight between what you just lifted and that. Man. So how much would that be? Do you reckon that piece?
That one, just under 2 kilograms.
Under 2 kilograms, so from 27?
Yeah, the 2 pieces together are around 4.5, 5.
So 27 kilos to 4.5 kilos. That's the biggest weight saving on the car. That was actually the heaviest panel on the car as well. And now, very light.
Say 2 of those kilos are probably in the fittings that are on.
Sure. And also
I'm going to let you put that back down.
The roof. So the roof's on the car, Josh, look at this.
So this is a carbon skin, is it called?
Carbon skin. So we didn't lose any weight on this, but we just made it look really cool to match the rest of the car. So this is a carbon skin on the original roof. We wanted to keep the original roof because it's magnesium and actually not that heavy at all anyway. And it means it'll fit into the factory fittings, which means that we'll have the proper latches and everything so we can take it on and off without it being very flimsy, like your car, for example. This is all factory finish. A little dig there, wasn't it?
That was a big dig, to be fair. Look at my roof. Does that sound like flims to you?
Yes. Yeah. We also have the dashboard. So this is the world's first forged carbon dashboard, which actually has also carbon in it as well. It's got a custom cowl.
Wow.
So basically this was like this on the normal car where the steering column came in, but because we don't need that anymore, this is going to be the house for our Link ECU display, which I think I'll be able to plug out here. So this is going to fit in there. It's going to be recessed in, so that's going to look very cool, like a factory finish. And then we have the original vent in there, so that's what we were deciding on, whether we wanted to run like a heater for the windscreen or whatever. We can still run it through the standard vent. It's got the Drift Games logo in there and the Corvette. And it looks pretty damn sweet, if I do say so myself. We also have some pieces for your car, Josh. Look at this. We got rid of the air vents.
So this had 2 recessed kind of gauge things, didn't it?
I had the tombstone or whatever it's called in the middle.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 vents throughout the whole panel. So I just flattened them off with fiberglass.
There we go.
I think a lot of you will say this was almost pointless, but I think this is the nice little touches that finish off the inside of the car. Don't break it now.
Just gentle persuasion, but we'll do that another time. There, we can knee it down. Yep.
Yeah.
Great quality car.
And this is why he is not touching any of the cars.
Now, look at that.
I think that finished off the interior nicely.
I will.
I very much like that. It may not be as jazzy as yours. You've got your logo in it, crushed carbon.
We may have gone over the top a little bit. We had a bit, and Matty now, to be fair, has been a big problem here. He's been in suggesting really fancy stuff the whole way through. So he's been enabling our imagination on this stuff. So we now have an entire carbon fiber body for the Corvette because we have HGK stuff and now we have Matty stuff. That means we have everything for the car to finish it. So we're going to test fit the old. Look at this man. Although he's showing off now because he can lift the very light pieces of things he made himself. First time the car will be complete. Okay. Wayne Curran's face says it all. Very impressed.
He's smiling.
That's the Corvette. Terrible looking.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is. You know what? Your theory behind this I didn't like, but in real life,
I was right. Is that what you're gonna say?
yeah, it actually looks pretty cool.
So basically, instead of having a rear window, which obviously is useless to me because I have a rear firewall that I can't see anything anyway, it gives the lines of the car the same as the window, but it isn't actually a glass window. But Maddie, awesome job, amazing. So you see the end product, it looks great, it's amazing. Easy for us to just put it on the car like that, Matty, but not easy to make. Yeah. So I want to go now to Matty in the past making all of these custom carbon panels, which is pretty amazing to see happen bit by bit. So let's roll to that. All right, boys and girls, I want to stop this video for 2 seconds to thank one of our partners here at Drift Games, Mobil 1 Oil. We run them in absolutely everything from performance cars to road cars to even our diesel van. We use Mobil 1 Oil because it's the best of the best stuff. It's used by Formula 1 teams right down to everybody who's into cars. It's the lifeblood of your engine, so make sure you don't cheap out on it. And if you don't believe me, when I use this in everything, I have no choice in some cars because even the Corvette comes recommended by Mobil 1. So if you see it on your shelf, grab it, put it in your car, keeps your engine safe and lubricated. Check out Mobil 1 Oil.
Hello, my name is Matthew from Sixth Element, and I was asked by the lads at Drift Games to record the whole process of making all the carbon fibre parts for the Corvette, as you can see in the background. And before we start, I just want to quickly show you the process of how everything is made, so that you have a better understanding of what's going on in the background when you're watching the time lapses. So I received 3 parts from them: the dash, the roof and the rear hatch. They're all going to be made completely different. So as you can see, I already started working on it. I have to blank off everything that they don't want. They want everything flush. On the back you had the heads up display. I already flushed that out. Then as you can kind of make out, the vent continue all the way around here. They had a little speaker there and a temperature sensor. That's all flushed out. Next for the roof will be skinning it in carbon, because they want to retain all the factory mounting points and the structural rigidity of it, but also they want the roof to look exactly the same as the rest of the car where it's fully out of carbon. So that's why we're going to be skinning this part. Then for the rear hatch, it's actually not as difficult as the dash. That's just large, but it's mostly flat surfaces, so we shouldn't have a problem with it. So I'm going to be making an outside mold out of this, then an inside mold, in order to retain the whole shape of the inside, which matches with the other part that's already on the car, so that everything sits flush together. So just a quick run through of how carbon fibre parts will be made. We have to make a flange all the way around in order to vacuum bag the whole part when it's done. That's a finished mold. So as you can see, the flange over here, that's what we're looking for, because when we're getting the vacuum bag, it looks something like that, where we're basically taping all the way along the edge of it, and then we're putting the vacuum bag over the entire part. Then we're going to connect a vacuum pump to it and take all the air out in order to make sure that the part adheres to the entire shape and we get an exact replica of what we want. So that's about it. Let's get to work. So as you can see, I finally have the plug done. The plug is basically the prepped original part with the flanges, everything masked off, ready to make a mold out of. Then everything is taped off, every single crease, cut line that I did on the actual plastic. And then on the very end, everything is waxed with the filleting wax. As a little surprise for Dave, I 3D printed their logo. Basically have something like this, so I think it's gonna look cool and they're gonna be happy with it. So it's been about 12 hours since we laid down the gel coat, so now we're going to put some resin on this and then put 2 layers of 400 gram fiberglass on it to reinforce the entire mold so that it won't flex when we're trying to make our part inside the mold. So next, I'm starting on the roof. I'm going to be skinning that. We're going to put a layer of carbon sheet on it and then put it in a vacuum bag. So I'm after moving on to making the mold for the rear hatch. So I'm after making the flanges already. I waxed everything up with the filleting wax. So I'm going to make a mold out of the outside, and then we're going to make a mold out of the inside of the part so that we can make both parts and then glue them together. And this is basically like polished out already because you're going against glass, so it has a perfect finish on it already. Just a quick little crash course on how carbon fibre infusions work. What's the difference between this and fiberglass? Because if you're doing a fiberglass part, you'd basically lay down your gel coat into your mold, lay down your fiberglass resin, you're good to go, you're finished. Whereas here, you have to lay everything down, vacuum bag it, and then we do a process called infusion, where the resin flows through the entire part under vacuum, making sure that it's touching and conforming to all the shapes of the part. We'll pull the vacuum on it in a few seconds, and then you can see clearly how this all works. So basically, we're going to have our cup where I'm going to pour the resin in, and it's going to be sucked through these tubes into the ports and then spread evenly across the whole part, making sure that it's fully saturated in resin. Sorry guys, but the GoPro died and when the resin's already mixed, I can't stop. But that's where we are at the moment. Vacuum pump is running, everything's vacuumed. So I don't know when the camera died, but I laid out all the chopped carbon, then I laid out resin on it, and then I put a layer of 2K carbon fibre. You can kind of see it there. Laid it all out just to have some extra strength. Pulled the vacuum on it, and now I'm leaving it for about 8 hours before I pop it out to make sure it's fully cured. And hopefully it actually looks as well as I hope it does. So just a quick recap on the cluster. If you try to fit in the dash, it doesn't really fit in. And this part is only there for the original plastic that they're not going to be running anyway. So I decided to chop these off, make it flat. Therefore, when you have the dash, it's going to sit in all nice. So just a quick introduction to Josh's parts. They're the two parts that he wants skinned in carbon instead, so we're not going to be doing molds for these ones. Just layering a sheet of carbon on it, a few layers of resin, just like I did with the roof. So the only modification he wants is to fill the vents, make it all nice and flat. Same with this, and then carry this straight over and make it all flat as if it was just a single piece here. So yeah, just going to fill them up and start laying carbon on.
Here at Drift Games, we absolutely love online drifting. But more importantly, for you guys watching at home, we want to get you in the game as well. So we've partnered up with digitalmotorsports.com, Ireland's first online sim store, who are experts in everything when it comes to online drifting. And they're going to give you guys a full free sim rig at the end of this series. Now I know you want to know, how do you win? But it's quite simple. Every single episode of Games Changers, we're going to release a letter. It looks a bit like this. And that letter will form a sentence. And at the end of the series, the first person who can put that full sentence together correctly wins a full simulator. Now that's not bad going. Well, there you have it. Maddie has completed an amazing job on both cars. I'm just going to stare at this for a little while, but we've got to take this back off because Bob is getting back into the wiring. Ryan is doing your car. We got a lot of stuff going on. I don't even know where this video is going next. There's that much going on, but yeah, let's keep going. Hello, I'm back again. So the guys are taking a quick break and I wanted to just kind of update you guys on what's been going on with the projects. I know it's been a while since we talked about budgets, deadlines, how the cars are going, what we learned and all that good stuff. So I said I'll step in on this episode while they are taking a small break from getting these cars done to give you guys an idea of what's going on. So the deadlines, well, they're pretty extensive. From this video going out, we have 7 days until the cars, both of them, need to be on the dyno in track day performance. Robbie has set aside the Friday and Saturday to tune a car a day. That means we can't have any issues, we can't have any problems, we can't have any leaks. We have to make sure that by next week, both of these cars are in this garage, finished, started on a base map and going there for final tuning. Anything goes wrong against that, we're in real trouble. Now, we've always been talking about my gearbox and differential and clutch and all that stuff, which was ordered in November. Well, we're tracking that and it's now currently, as this video goes out, 2 days away from landing. So we're going to have about 5 days to finish the Corvette from start to finish, which is really, really tight. Josh's car should be finished by the end of this week to a certain extent, with some small bits and sensors and injectors and stuff we're waiting on. We've learned in this entire process that you have great plans, you have great intentions, but everything doesn't always work out that way. Customs, Brexit, manufacturing times. We also decided to build 2 race cars in the middle of 100 days of lockdown. So as you can imagine, not as easy to get around, not as easy to get people and parts. Some companies aren't open. So this is basically the hardest build I think we'll ever do because it's so many restrictions and limitations and customs and everything just happened at the one time. That said, we can see the finish line. And you guys are probably wondering how much time and energy and cost and everything goes into something like this. I think one thing I would admit is that Josh and I were very naive when we started building these cars, because a lot of the time you think, oh, there's the car, that's how much the engine costs, that's how much this is, that's how much that is, and you forget about all of the small things. No matter how good a mechanic you are or how good a car builder you are, you forget about all of those tiny things. Like, for example, just on fittings alone, on both cars, €4,000 just on fittings for pipes and oil coolers and all that kind of stuff. Something you would never even think would cost that much money. So a lot of you guys probably want to know, how much did the cars cost? Now, we aren't at the finish line yet, but we are pretty close. So we set ourselves a budget to build both cars for around about €100,000. That's what we said at the start. Then use another €100,000 to run them for a year. Realistically, if I was being honest, the retail on both of these cars to finish them would be about €140,000 is what we're calculating. Now, that said, we've had some amazing partners and sponsors and people give us great discounts and get involved with the project, and that has massively brought us down. So I would say of our own money, we've spent about €100,000, which is what the loan we took at the original point was, and we've got about €40,000 worth of parts, which is an amazing thing that we've had so much kindness and generosity and support from so many amazing companies that we're looking forward to promoting throughout the rest of this season. In the breakdown of that, I would say the Corvette is going to cost €100,000 on its own, and the MX-5 is going to cost about €40,000 on its own. That though doesn't say the whole story, because the first thing you're going to say is, how come Dave got to spend €100,000 and Josh only got 40? The only difference in actual performance between these two cars is the fact that I chose a Corvette. For example, my car was almost €28,000, €27,000 just to buy the car itself. Josh's car was €1,000. But I think both cars competitively will be exactly the same. Yes, my car has a full carbon fiber body kit on it to make the car lighter, but Josh's car was already lighter to begin with. So I think both cars will probably be very even in terms of competitiveness. The Corvette just costs a lot more because it's a Corvette. We were only discussing today that like it was cheaper for me to buy 2 front fenders and 2 rear fenders from HDK in carbon than fiberglass ones from the US. So it's not like I built the car out of carbon because it was super light, but it's actually cheaper than getting the stuff through customs and delivery from America. So we're at that point now where we know we're down to the wire on budget. We've got €100,000, that's all we had. We're probably going to spend every bit of it to get the cars finished, and the €40,000 more they cost we got from partners and sponsors, which was amazing. But did we know they were going to cost that at the start? No. And our advice for all of you guys building cars is, number one, always double probably what you think it's going to cost in terms of time and energy and money. And there's so many pieces of a car, so many components, especially when you're building them from scratch, that you can't account for. The amount of custom fabrication, problems, silly things that we've had to come across have really stopped us. For example, on Josh's car, there's never been an SR20 in that engine bay before, so there is no kit to put it in. You got to modify everything from bulkheads to subframes to steering racks to everything, but we're getting there. That's the most important thing. It's been a real labor of love. We've been looking at these cars way too much for the last 4 or 5 months, and we're about a week away from them being on the dyno and actual cars that run. It's going to be a late night, long sessions, and you might look at some of these videos, we're not showing you absolutely everything. We are all hands on deck now, running around trying to get parts, get them done, because as much as we'd love to show you every single piece of these cars going together, it slows down the process and we haven't got the time. So we're probably going to do a couple of episodes now where we kind of fill you guys in on what's been done rather than as it's happening, because we don't want to distract the guys working on the cars and make sure we get them done in time. So stressful 7 days ahead. It's a very unrealistic time frame, but we're putting absolutely everything into it, and with your support at home and your kind words and all that stuff, we've been really pushing to try and get this done. And the idea of it is that we finish all the cars to give everyone a sense of accomplishment, for those of you guys watching since November, and for us to have everything back in here cleaned and ready to go for whatever the next challenge is. So thank you guys for watching so much. We hope you enjoyed our little bit of carbon making with Matty. I thought it was a really interesting piece of how it actually works, because I had no idea. And the next couple of episodes are going to be very frantic. There's going to be a lot going on, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button, do. And we will see you on the next episode, and I'm not sure what it's going to be at, and things are just moving at 100 miles a minute, but it's going to be a lot of fun for the next couple of weeks, especially the next week getting the cars finished. So you're going to see them go from 2 pretty much shells to 2 finished cars very, very soon. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.